When a building in New York City comes down, we see the dust, we hear the noise, and then, poof, something new goes up. But what about what's left behind? And I'm not talking about the rubble. I'm talking about the stories. So today, we're going to look past the demolition crews to uncover the unseen human history of the city's vanishing landmarks.
This question right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. A building isn't just wood and stone, is it? It's a silent container for generations of human experience. So when it gets torn down, we don't just lose a structure, we risk losing the entire narrative.
And that's the big mystery we're diving into. Beneath every shiny new skyscraper lie the echoes of lives lived, of dreams chased, of entire communities that once thrived right there. So, let's start digging, shall we?
Okay, so first things first. This isn't just about architecture or beautiful old buildings. The loss of a building, it's felt on a really personal level by the people who call a city home.
I mean, think about it. You know that feeling, right? The corner store you've passed 1,000 times, that old theater with the funky marquee, and then one day, it's just gone. That jolt you feel? That's a tear in the personal map you have of your city. It honestly feels like losing a tiny piece of your own story.
And that feeling gives rise to this really fascinating concept people call architectural ghosts. Now, these aren't spooky apparitions floating around. They're the unheard stories, the emotional echoes that a place leaves behind long after the physical building has been wiped away.
So, if these buildings are leaving behind ghosts, who are the people that actually lived inside those walls? Let's move from that general feeling of loss to the specific lives that were all tangled up with these places. This is where those ghosts really start to speak.
This is a really crucial point. We tend to focus on the huge grand landmarks, right? But the stories are just as powerful, sometimes even more so, in the humble, everyday places. A little tenement building, a workshop, a social hall. Every single one was its own universe of human drama.
For example, just picture a typical tenement on the Lower East Side. This was never just a block of apartments. For over 100 years, it might have been the very first home in America for countless families. It was a community hub, a place of shared languages, shared food, shared traditions. When a building like that came down, it wasn't just displacing a few people. It was literally erasing an entire social network that took generations to build.
The human cost is it's immense. There's this one historical account from a former resident that just hits you right in the gut. They said, "You didn't just lose your apartment, you lost your entire world." The loss is total. The neighbors, the little shop on the corner, all of it. The entire ecosystem of their life just vanished. That's the wound that demolition leaves behind.
So why does this keep happening? Well, to understand that, we need to zoom out and look at the massive forces that are constantly reshaping a city like New York.
A city is like a living organism, and it's always under pressure to change. You have economic development demanding bigger, more profitable spaces. You have huge urban renewal projects, sometimes started with good intentions, aiming to clean up whole neighborhoods. Then there's gentrification, bringing in new people. And of course, that relentless, unstoppable pursuit of whatever's modern. Any one of these things can swing the wrecking ball.
And this creates the central tension of urban life. It's this constant tug-of-war. On one side, you have preservation, the fight to protect a city's history, its identity, its soul. And on the other, you have progress, the drive for economic growth and meeting the needs of the future. Trying to find the balance between these two? Man, that's one of the toughest challenges any city faces.
And because the stakes are so incredibly high, these decisions are rarely quiet. The fight to save the original Penn Station, for example, that was a devastating loss. But it was so painful that it basically kickstarted the entire modern preservation movement in New York. The question of what to save versus what to sacrifice is a constant and vital conversation. So if the physical buildings are lost to progress, is that just the end of the story? Well, more and more the answer is a resounding no. Let's look at how we're learning to remember what's been erased. This is where the story gets really hopeful and kind of cool. Technology and community action are creating totally new kinds of monuments. We have digital archives that save priceless photos and blueprints from being lost forever. There are grassroots projects where people go out and capture the oral histories of former residents. And get this, virtual reality can now let us literally walk through these lost buildings once more. So even though we might lose the physical building, we no longer have to lose its story. All of these efforts are giving a permanent voice to our architectural ghosts, making sure their narratives stay a part of the city's living, breathing history. And that leaves us with one final thought.
Because this isn't just a New York story, is it? It's happening in your city too. So the next time you see a construction site where something familiar used to be, don't just see an empty lot. Ask yourself, what ghost was left behind here? What stories are hiding, just waiting to be told?